You know, when I first came here, it was very different. A lot of things have changed since then.
But at the same time, because it is something that is given to us, it has to be utilized.
Yeah, correct.
And I said, you know what? I'm just gonna go for it. And that's exactly what I did. I just went for it.
We just sort of what life's right.
I remember when we first moved in here, there was nothing on these walls.
Yeah.
We've made it a home.
Yeah.
So the main idea is to renovate this space to be more open.
I like the sound of that, but what about the structural integrity?
But I think that's the main difference, is just the way that they approach it.
Yeah, I'm just chilling outside right now, enjoying the weather. What's up?
I think it is important for us to continue this discussion about the future.
So, what have you been up to lately?
Not much, just trying to stay busy. How about you?
In Japan, we have a culture of doing kintsugi, which means golden joinery.
The sun had barely risen when the small garden behind the humble house began to stir with life. Morning dew glistened like a scatter of diamonds across the rows of vegetables. A young woman named Hang bent low over the earth, her hands darkened with soil as she tended to the tender stems of morning glory and cucumber plants. Beside her, her mother stood watching quietly, holding a small basket with a hen inside, clucking impatiently as though demanding release. "Daughter," her mother called softly, her voice both tender and commanding. "Are you not tired? Every morning you do this alone. The garden is large. You cannot bear all of this work by yourself." Hang smiled faintly, though exhaustion lingered in her eyes. "It's fine, me. I am used to it. Besides, this garden feeds us. Without it, we would have nothing." Her mother shook her head, setting the hen down into the coop nearby. "Still, you must rest. Take care of yourself, especially now with the child." Her gaze lingered knowingly on her daughter, and Hang quickly lowered her eyes, pretending to concentrate on watering the vegetables. The silence between them was heavy with unspoken truths. At last, the mother spoke again, this time with determination. "We must plant more. Melons, perhaps. If we grow plenty, we won't need to buy from the market. We can eat some, sell the rest, and earn a little money. That way, we survive." Hang nodded, grateful for her mother's practical wisdom. She knew her mother carried more than just the burden of the household. She carried the weight of her daughter's unsteady future. As they worked side by side, the mother suddenly asked the question that had been haunting her thoughts. "My daughter, the test results, did they come back yet? About your husband, whether that man is truly the father of your child?" Hang froze. For a long moment she did not answer. Then slowly she whispered, "Yes, me. The results are back. It proves it. He is the father." The older woman's eyes brightened with hope. "Then why does that man not accept it? Why does he deny what is so clearly written? Does he not see? Does he not care?" Bitterness edged her voice, her hands trembling slightly as she pulled weeds from the soil. If the blood is his, then he must accept. A man cannot simply walk away from his own flesh. It is unthinkable. It is cruel. Hang's lips quivered, but she said nothing. The pain of rejection was carved deep in her chest. She remembered his face, his words, cold, dismissive, like a knife cutting away the bond she had once thought was unbreakable. Her mother straightened, brushing dirt from her palms. "Listen, Kongai, we will not be silent. If he refuses to acknowledge, then we will confront him. We will speak the truth. He cannot erase what is written in blood." Hang swallowed hard. She feared the confrontation, yet part of her longed for it. She wanted him to see their child, to understand that the small beating heart came from him too. She wanted justice for herself, but more importantly, for the child who deserved a father's love. The day wore on, heavy with tension. Later, as the sun tilted westward, the sound of footsteps approached the garden. A man, his figure familiar yet unwelcome, appeared on the path. His eyes flickered with discomfort when he saw them. "You again," he muttered, shifting uneasily. "Why do you keep coming here? I told you before it has nothing to do with me." Her mother's face hardened. She stepped forward, her voice sharp. "How dare you speak like that? You left my daughter when she carried your child. You abandoned her to suffer alone. And now you stand here and deny what even the test proves? What kind of man are you?" The man's jaw tightened. He tried to look away, but her words pierced through him. "It's not mine," he said firmly, though his eyes betrayed a flicker of doubt. "She and I only knew each other briefly. That child, who knows whose it really is? Not mine." Anger boiled in the mother's chest. She pulled a folded paper from her pocket. The DNA test results, stamped and certified. "Here. Do you see this? 99.9% match. Science does not lie. You are the father. Stop running from the truth." He glanced at the paper, but quickly dismissed it with a wave of his hand. "Fake. Anyone can forge such things. I don't know her. I don't know this child. Enough of your lies." Hang's eyes filled with tears, but her mother would not relent. "You coward. You may deceive yourself, but you cannot deceive us. This child carries your blood. One day, even if you deny it until your last breath, the truth will find you." The confrontation grew heated, voices echoing through the village road. A small crowd began to gather, whispers buzzing like restless bees. Some sided with the mother, shaking their heads at the man's denial. Others stood in silence, afraid to interfere. Then, as the shouting reached its peak, another figure approached. A younger man, perhaps in his early 20s. He paused, startled, hearing the accusations flung at his father. "What is this about?" the young man asked, eyes darting between his father and the furious woman. "Is it true, Cha? Do you have another child?" The older man stiffened, anger mixing with panic. "Nonsense, don't listen to her, she's making it all up." But the mother seized the moment, her voice rising. "Yes, it is true. Your father and my daughter share a child, and we have the proof. The DNA test is undeniable." The young man frowned, torn between loyalty and doubt. "If there is proof, then show me. Let me see it with my own eyes." "The paper is at my house," the woman replied quickly. "My son-in-law has it. Come with us. See for yourself." The father barked in protest, his face pale. "No, I won't go. I won't waste my time on lies." But his son shook his head. "If there is nothing to hide, then why refuse? If it's false, we'll expose it. If it's true..." He trailed off, unable to finish the thought. The older man turned away, unwilling to confront the evidence. But doubt now shadowed his son's eyes, and the seed of truth had been planted. As the sun sank lower, casting long shadows across the earth, the confrontation ended unresolved. Yet something had shifted. The mother and daughter had spoken their truth aloud, and the young man had heard it. Whether his father admitted it or not, the truth was beginning to crack open, piece by piece. For Hang, the pain of denial still throbbed, but she clung to hope. Hope that one day her child would be recognized. Hope that the lies would wither and the truth, like the seeds planted in their garden, would rise toward the light. The night after the confrontation was heavy with silence. The young man lay awake in his bed, staring at the cracked ceiling, the words of the woman echoing in his mind like a relentless drumbeat. Your father and my daughter share a child. The proof is in the blood. He wanted to dismiss it, to believe his father's fiery denial, but the unease gnawed at him like a worm boring into the heart of an apple. His father's face had betrayed something that afternoon, Fear, perhaps, or guilt. Why would an innocent man refuse to even glance at the paper? Why had he been so desperate to end the conversation, to silence the voices that demanded truth? These questions spun in the young man's mind, refusing to let him rest. By dawn, he had made his decision. He would go to the woman's house himself. If the DNA test truly existed, if the numbers were as undeniable as she claimed, then he would see them with his own eyes. He owed himself that certainty. He owed the truth to the child whose existence had been thrust into his life like a stone cast into still water. He left quietly, not telling his father of his plan. The road to Hang's home wound through fields and narrow village paths, lined with bamboo groves whispering in the wind. Each step felt like a journey deeper into the heart of a secret he wasn't sure he wanted to uncover. His chest tightened with dread and anticipation. When he arrived, the small house stood simple and modest, its yard crowded with rows of vegetables and a faint scent of smoke rising from the kitchen. Hang's mother greeted him at the gate, her eyes wary but not unkind. She seemed to know why he had come before he even spoke. "I want to see it," the young man said simply, his voice low but firm. "The DNA test. If it exists, show it to me." The mother nodded, though her expression softened with pity. "My son-in-law has the papers. He is not home yet. You will have to wait." She gestured toward a wooden bench under the shade of a jackfruit tree. "Sit. We will not hide anything from you." So he sat, the hours dragging like stones. Hang came out carrying a small basin of water, her face pale with worry, her eyes flickering toward him, but quickly turning away. The child played near her feet, innocent, oblivious to the storm swirling around her existence. The young man felt his heart twist as he watched her, small hands grasping at the earth, laughter rising like bells in the air. Could it be? Was this child bound to him by blood, tied to his family name, no matter how his father raged against it? Finally, footsteps crunched on the dirt path. A man approached, the son-in-law carrying tools from his day's work. His face was stern, weathered by sun and responsibility. When he saw the visitor, he nodded grimly. "You've come for the truth." "Yes," the young man answered, his throat dry. "I need to see it myself." The son-in-law did not hesitate. He went inside, returning with a folded envelope. From it, he pulled the official document, the DNA test. He laid it on the bench between them, his finger tracing the lines of numbers and percentages. "Here, 99.9%. Your father's blood and mine match through the child. This is no lie. We took his toothbrush, secretly, to be sure. Science does not bend to pride." The young man's hands trembled as he picked up the paper. His eyes scanned the black print, the cold numbers that cut sharper than any blade. There it was, undeniable. His father was bound to this child no matter what words he spoke. The son-in-law's voice grew heavy with emotion. "Do you see now? We did not seek to shame him. We only want what is right. A child deserves to know her father. My wife deserves justice. Yet your father spits on the truth and calls it false." The young man lowered the paper, his mind a storm of confusion. If this is true, why would he not accept it? Why would he deny what even the blood confirms? "Because pride blinds him," the son-in-law said bitterly. "Because to admit it is to face the sins of his past. He would rather live in denial than shoulder the weight of his mistakes." The words pierced the young man like arrows. He wanted to protest, to defend his father, but the evidence burned in his hands. His father had lied, or worse, his father had abandoned. The realization carved into him like a wound, leaving him breathless. Hang's mother placed a gentle hand on his arm. "You are young, but you are wise enough to see. Help us, child. Speak to your father. Make him understand. We do not ask for wealth or glory. We ask for recognition, for truth. That is all." He stood, clutching the paper, his resolve hardening. "I will speak to him. I cannot promise he will listen, but I will not let this be buried in silence." As he left the house, the sun dipped low, painting the sky in hues of fire and sorrow. He walked with heavy steps, the DNA test a weight in his pocket, the truth a fire in his heart. He knew the battle ahead would be fierce, for his father's pride was a fortress not easily breached. Yet he also knew he could not turn away. The truth had found him, and like a seed planted deep in the soil, it would grow, whether his father willed it or not. The walk home felt like a march into battle. Every step the young man took toward his father's house seemed to echo with the beating of his own heart. The folded DNA paper in his pocket pulsed like a secret alive, whispering of betrayal, of undeniable lineage, of a truth that could no longer be buried beneath excuses. By the time he reached the gate, his hands shook with a mix of fury and sorrow. His father was sitting in the courtyard, sharpening a knife against a stone. The metallic scrape rang through the air like a warning. He looked up when he saw his son, his expression unreadable, his eyes as cold and still as a pond in winter. "Why are you back so soon?" he asked, his voice rough. The young man pulled the paper from his pocket and placed it on the wooden table with a deliberate hand. "Because I went to see them. I went to Hang's house. I saw it with my own eyes. The DNA doesn't lie, Cha. She's telling the truth. That child, she carries your blood." For a moment, silence blanketed the courtyard. Only the wind in the trees stirred, carrying the faint scent of burning straw from a neighbor's field. The father did not look at the paper. Instead, he resumed sharpening the knife, the rasp of stone against steel louder now, grating, defiant. "It's fake," he said flatly. "I told you before, people forge these things. Don't be a fool, Contry." The son's voice cracked with anger. I held it in my hands. I saw the official stamp, the numbers, 99.9%. That is not chance. That is blood. You cannot call blood a lie. The father's jaw tightened. At last, he set down the knife and met his son's eyes. His gaze was hard, but beneath it flickered something fragile, fear, perhaps, or shame. "And if it is true?" he asked quietly. "If it is true, what then? Should I chain myself to the past? Should I ruin what life I have built now?" "You should acknowledge her," the son cried. His voice rang through the yard, loud enough for neighbors to stir behind their fences. "You should not abandon your child, leave her to be mocked, to suffer. Do you not understand what it means to be denied by your own father, to grow up knowing you were cast aside?" His voice faltered, breaking under the weight of his own words. "Because that is what you are doing, Cha. That is what you did." The father flinched as though struck. Memories surged in his mind, memories of a younger man, reckless, selfish, turning away from responsibility when it knocked at his door. He had buried those memories deep, convincing himself that silence erased sin. But now his own son's eyes were mirrors, reflecting his cowardice back at him. "I was young," the father muttered, his voice hollow. "I made mistakes, but that was years ago. Why should I dig them up now?" "Because the past does not die," the son shot back. "Because the child is here, alive, breathing, needing you. And because I cannot look at you the same way if you keep denying her. You are not just her father, you are mine. What kind of man am I to become if my own father runs from truth?" The words struck deeper than any blade. The father looked away, his eyes fixed on the ground as though the earth itself could swallow him whole. He wanted to deny again, to push back with anger, but the trembling in his hands betrayed him. His fortress of pride was crumbling. The son stepped closer, lowering his voice, filled now not with rage but with raw plea. "Cha, you always taught me that a man must carry his name with honor. That family is the root of everything. But where is your honor now? Where is your root if you cut it away yourself?" Silence stretched long and heavy. The father's breath came uneven, his chest rising and falling as if under invisible weight. Finally, his shoulders sagged, the knife slipping from his fingers and clattering to the ground. "I was afraid," he admitted, his voice no louder than a whisper. "Afraid of shame, afraid of losing what I had, afraid that admitting the truth would break me." The son placed the DNA paper directly in his father's trembling hands. "It will not break you," he said firmly. "It will make you whole again. Look at it. Accept it. Accept her." The old man stared at the paper, the numbers swimming before his eyes. 99.9%. The truth etched in ink, undeniable, relentless. Tears stung his eyes, unbidden. He thought of the girl, of her mother's furious, pleading face, of the child's laughter echoing faintly in the distance. Blood called to blood. Denial no longer held power. When he finally spoke, his voice cracked like dry earth under rain. "She is mine." The son exhaled, relief mingling with sorrow. He knew this admission did not erase years of pain, did not heal the wounds already carved, but it was a beginning, a crack of light through the darkness. That night, father and son sat together in silence, the weight of confession heavy between them. The young man knew the path forward would be long and fraught with mistrust, with anger, with the necessity of repair. But he also knew that truth had finally been spoken, and truth was the seed from which healing might grow. Far away, in a modest house lit by a single oil lamp, Hang held her child close, unaware of the shift that had just begun. The wind carried whispers of change through the fields, whispers that tomorrow might not be as cruel as yesterday. And in the heart of a man once bound by pride, something fragile stirred, like the first green shoot breaking through hard soil. Not redemption yet, not forgiveness, but the first step toward it. The weight of blood had finally been acknowledged.